Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, let's dive right in. Have you ever wondered why the people who seem to know the absolute least about a topic are almost without fail the ones speaking with the most unearned confidence? I mean, we see it all the time. Today, we're going to explore a truly fascinating psychological phenomenon that explains exactly why this happens. We are going on a visual journey to uncover why our strongest areas of confidence might actually be our absolute biggest blind spots. To kick things off, I've got to hook you with an absolutely absurd but totally true story. The year was 1995, and a man named MacArthur Wheeler decided to rob two banks in Pittsburgh in broad daylight. Now, he carried a gun, but he didn't wear a mask. Instead, he covered his face in lemon juice. Why on earth would he do that? Well, because he had a genuine, unshakable belief that since lemon juice is used as invisible ink, rubbing it all over his face would render him completely invisible to the bank's security cameras. Obviously, he was stunned when police arrested him just hours later using the surveillance footage. But believe it or not, this bizarre event actually inspired a major psychological breakthrough. You see, when Cornell University psychology professor David Dunning read about this crazy case in the newspaper, he had this profound realization. He thought, if Wheeler was too stupid to be a bank robber, perhaps he was also too stupid to know that he was too stupid. This one thought led Dunning, along with his graduate student Dunning-Kruger, to formally study this specific cognitive blind spot back in 1999. They essentially wanted to see if someone's perceived competence could actually be measured against their actual competence. All right, let's get into Section 1, the double burden of incompetence. So here is the formal definition. The Dunning-Kruger effect is a cognitive bias where people with limited knowledge or skill in a specific area significantly overestimate their competence. I want you to notice the emphasis here on a specific area. This isn't about general intelligence. Highly intelligent people fall into this trap all the time when they step outside their lane. It basically happens because of a lack of metacognition, which is just a fancy word for the ability to step back, analyze your own thoughts, and objectively examine your own specific flaws. Simply put, you just don't know what you don't know. If you look at the results from Dunning-Kruger's original 1999 study, the gap is just wild. They tested undergraduate students on logic, grammar, and humor. The participants whose actual performance put them way down in the 12th percentile, literally the bottom quartile, rated their own skills vastly above average. They estimated themselves to be in the 62nd percentile. So literally, the less they knew, the more highly they rated their own expertise. The researchers actually called this the double curse, or the dual burden. The crucial point to understand is this underlying mechanism. The exact same skills you need to produce a correct answer are the exact skills you need to recognize what a correct answer looks like in the first place. Think about it. If you're terrible at chess, you don't have the strategic knowledge required to understand why your move was terrible. Your incompetence robs you of the very mental tools you need to realize you are incompetent. It's a total catch-22. Moving right along to Section 2, influencers, experts, and media. Now think about your social media feed. It is honestly the absolute perfect breeding ground for this bias. We are constantly surrounded by instant experts, right? We've got content creators prescribing highly restrictive diets like keto or carnivore after just a few weeks of trying it themselves, completely ignoring the actual fundamentals of evidence-based medicine. We have life coaches with zero clinical training confidently diagnosing ADHD. We have infopreneurs selling crypto wealth courses without grasping even basic macroeconomics. And the algorithms just massively reward this emotional certainty and penalize nuance. It creates this incredibly powerful illusion of mastery for the creator and the audience alike. But hey, it's not just social media influencers. Traditional journalism falls into this exact same trap all the time. The sheer urgency of continuous 24/7 news pushes generalist professionals to confidently express themselves on subjects they really do not master. On live television, doubt is basically seen as a weakness. The format demands peremptory affirmation, which means the loudest, most confident voice often gets the microphone. And we see this improvised expertise constantly. I mean, think back to the COVID-19 pandemic. We saw general columnists acting as onset epidemiologists, totally confidently interpreting unreviewed scientific preprints without any of the training required to actually understand those complex statistical indicators. We see broadcasters giving definitive, sweeping analyses on artificial intelligence based on nothing more than tech company press releases, or commentators confidently mixing up short-term local weather events with long-term global climate models. The cognitive bias of these commentators leads to this dangerous oversimplification of highly complex scientific data just for mass consumption. And honestly, nowhere is this simplification more obvious than in geopolitics. Just look at this timeline. It illustrates a really deep, complex history regarding the Russia-Ukraine conflict, spanning decades of treaties, summits, and intense regional dynamics. Yet the way modern media treats this often perfectly illustrates the Dunning-Kruger effect by completely omitting this dense historical context. Non-specialist journalists often favor simplistic, binary narratives over actual nuanced geopolitical realities. It's a prime example of how a lack of deep subject matter expertise leads directly to extreme confidence in an overly simplified narrative. Which brings us to Section 3, the corporate reality check. Okay, we have all seen this classic workplace scenario. You get these highly credentialed new employees, fresh out of their long university programs, walking into the office armed with massive academic confidence. They take one look at established processes and confidently declare, this company has been doing it wrong for years. But then, they hit the complex reality of the corporate world. They are very quickly humbled when they discover the unwritten rules, the informal structures, and the super nuanced relationships that actually keep the company running. Suddenly, they become mediocre, in the literal sense of the word. They realize they were sitting atop what psychologists playfully call Mount Stupid, a giant peak of confidence built entirely on superficial understanding. What makes this so incredibly dangerous in a business setting is that the Dunning-Kruger effect rarely works alone. It brilliantly compounds with these other biases. You've got confirmation bias, which means the overconfident person just ignores any contrary evidence. You've got the halo effect, where their loud confidence is mistakenly rated by management as high competence. Social proof kicks in, meaning the rest of the meeting goes along with them just because they seem so darn sure. And optimism bias means they vastly overestimate how fast their flawed plan will actually work. The end result? The loudest, most confident voice in the room wins, even if they are objectively the least qualified person to make the decision. Let's flip the script for a second. Section 4, the imposter syndrome contrast. Just look at this contrast side by side. On the left, we have the Dunning-Kruger pretender. They're unskilled, taking dangerous risks, and lacking the self-awareness to even know they are failing. But on the right, we have imposter syndrome. These are the genuine experts, the highly skilled individuals who deeply, deeply understand the complexity of their field. But because they see all that complexity, they become extremely careful, nuanced, and quiet. They are plagued by self-doubt and hyper-self-aware, constantly feeling like frauds who are going to be unmasked at any second. So while the novice shouts, the true expert whispers. All right, let's talk solutions in Section 5, overcoming your own blind spots. For organizations, you really have to realize that the Dunning-Kruger effect is a fast, automatic, System 1 brain process. It just inherently feels good to be certain. You literally cannot just train it away with a one-off seminar. You have to redesign the decision-making environment itself. So, Step 1, enforce mandatory expert consultation before major decisions. Step 2, standardize pre-mortems. This means forcing teams to imagine the project has totally failed and then figure out why, which helps break that optimism bias. And Step 3, cultivate an environment where expressing doubt is actually rewarded as a sign of intellectual depth, rather than punished as some kind of weakness. But on a personal level, you have to actively build your metacognitive muscle. Step 1, play your own devil's advocate. Deliberately force yourself to argue the exact opposite of your absolute certainties. Step 2, seek out constructive criticism from genuine experts to illuminate the blind spots you literally cannot see yourself. And Step 3, simply accept that it is okay to be wrong. True self-awareness requires stripping away your ego and recognizing that real learning only begins the moment you admit you don't have all the answers. You know, humanity recognized this psychological trap way, way before Dunning-Kruger put a formal name to it. As Charles Darwin so brilliantly wrote, ignorance more frequently begets confidence than does knowledge. It's just a fundamental part of the human condition to be kind of blind to our own ignorance. So I want to leave you with this lingering question to really chew on. Look at your own life. Where are you currently 100% confident? And is there a chance, even a small one, that you might just be sitting on top of Mount Stupid? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Take a moment to examine your own certainties this week, keep questioning, and keep learning.